All right, Celtics and Heat meeting for the first time since Miami burst Boston's bubble in the playoffs. Jayson Tatum coming off that 40-point game last time out. Pretty good as well last night. Had 27. Celtics up 5. They were up 7 with less than a minute to go, but back come the Heat. Duncan Robinson, three-pointer, yes, and the foul. 4-point play. Heat cut it to 3. Goran Dragic, no. Adebayo gets the rebound. Back to Dragic, shooter's mentality. Just keep shooting. Heat scored 10 in the last 55 seconds to tie it. Back come the Celtics. Marcus Smart on the drive. Not going to get it, but watch Peyton Pritchard coming in and throwing it back home. The rookie from Oregon. Playing the hero, had just 6 points, but the most important 2 right there as the Celtics go on to win it 107-105 the final. The go-ahead shot with 3 seconds to play or less. It's an art that the Celtics have mastered this season. That's how they kicked off the season against the Bucks, courtesy of Jayson Tatum. And that shot off the window, he didn't call it. It was Tatum again against the Pistons with the game tied. 2.9 to go. Bingo. Blake Griffin would miss a 30-footer, and the Celtics win that one. And then last night, Peyton Pritchard. The Celtics now 3 go-ahead shots in the final 3 seconds of a game this season. That's as many as the rest of the NBA combined. Let's bring in our NBA analyst, Kendrick Perkins, now. So, Perk, the rookie gets the game winner, but the veterans really carrying the load. Jayson Tatum and Jaylen Brown combined for 48. Where do those 2 guys rank among your top duos in the NBA?
Oh, they're up there, Jason. Look, I'm telling you right now, the city of Boston and the state of Massachusetts should be very happy because they finally have 2 young studs that's a top 3 duo in the league. When you look at a guy like Jayson Tatum, right, we know that he's an elite scorer, has 0 flaws in his game offensively, but is an underrated defender, has took that elite facilitating for others. He has done a great job this year is getting others involved, being a playmaker, and he's an underrated rebounder. When you look at Jaylen Brown, a guy that I picked to win Most Improved, has elevated his game. Gordon Hayward left. Kemba Walker is out. Now he's averaging 26 points a night on 56% shooting. He's elevated his game also. One of the best 2-way players in the game today. Jayson Tatum and Jaylen Brown are a top 3 duo in the league, hands down. It is not even up for debate.
And they're young. I mean, Tatum's 22, Brown's 24, so the Celtics have some cornerstones for the future.
Yeah, but
go ahead.
They got old souls, though. They got old souls.
Okay. Ancient souls on those guys. Anyway, Celtics trail the Sixers right now, Kendrick, by a game and a half in the division. Philly's 7-1 start under Doc Rivers. What have you seen from that team early this season?
Well, I tell you one thing, they are the best team in the Eastern Conference right now. And what Daryl Morey did, adding Seth Curry and Danny Green and around Joel Embiid and Ben Simmons, who was the ones talking about those 2 couldn't coexist? Yes, they can with the right coach, getting rid of Brett Brown, adding Doc Rivers. This team is a force to be reckoned with. I'm watching great ball movement on one end of the floor, on the offensive end of the floor, where they're passing up good shots to get great shots. Defensively, they didn't have the best defensive night last night, but overall, they've been pretty much locked in. And the most important thing that I'm noticing with the Philadelphia 76ers is the chemistry. The chemistry. Ben Simmons is playing with great joy. Joel Embiid is playing with great joy. Tobias Harris is having one of his best seasons since playing with the Clippers when he played under Doc Rivers. So right now, I'm looking at this Philadelphia 76ers team, and they're the best team in the Eastern Conference. And that's just my opinion.
Hey, they're the best record in the entire NBA. So
at 5-3, can they keep this up though? How far can they go?
Alan, real quick before you answer that, I'm gonna back up your point, because I think most people are like Key. They're like, come on, bro, it's 5-3. Remember this. Last year,
You
Key,
don't understand. We've been thirsty for years.
I get it. I understand it, but it's 8 games in, and it just makes me laugh.
But Alan, I'm with you 100%, and I know Key's laughing. So the Knicks are 5-3 after 8 games. Last year, Alan, if I'm not mistaken, it took them 25 games to get to 5 wins. So now they have 5 wins after 8 games. Come on, we got to give them a little credit here.
I'm giving him credit. I just had to chuckle because he's so excited at 5-3, and I'm sitting here looking 8 games in, and I'm like,
See,
the
again,
season
you got
just
champagne
started.
problems, Key. That's champagne problems. What you have there, you have to understand. We have potholes on streets here that are older than your city. You understand that, right?
No,
like you
I
got to
do.
understand what we deal with here. There's traffic here that we just call. That's every day. We're typical. This is normal. It ain't the 405. This is just what you do here. You live with misery. So when you have one moment of shining happiness, you grasp it, you embrace it like that piece of a half a Big Mac that's on the ground, and the rat comes out and he's like, we're going to Sizzler tonight, baby. I got a half a Big Mac. That's how we feel around here. So having even this modest start, it just makes you feel better about things. They're not the only team in town now. We understand that. But there's just something about this team that when they are good, the whole city just feels better. It's just, there's something about it. And everybody that's old enough to know about the 90s, they remember those teams. Okay, you were here during those years.
Yeah.
You know what that's about. When this team's good, people will stick their chests out again. You feel proud to be in New York. And that's why this silly, modest start does have people giddy. And, that's what it is.
Can
New
they
York
keep
or nowhere.
it going, though?
Alan,
Can they keep
Alan,
it
let me-
going?
Well,
No, I don't think they
wait a
can,
minute,
Key.
Jay. Why do you say they can't? Health is the only way they don't. Health.
Alan, do you expect Julius Randle to continue to average 22, 11, and 7.5 for the whole season?
I'm
Are
not
you projecting the
Nobody saw
Knicks
that.
to
Nobody
make the
saw that. But you know
playoffs?
what I see? I see a guy that's it's contract year, fellas, right? So when you're in a contract year, you show up and you play honest. You're in great shape, which he's never been before, and they're giving him the role because he can play that role because he doesn't get tired late in games. He can run the floor. Do I expect him to hold this up? I don't know because I've never seen him do it, but I've never seen him coach this way, and I've never seen him motivated this way. This is the first time in a long time with this franchise where you've had the synergy of the front office and the coach. This has forever been the issue where the players don't fit the coach, or it's whether it's forcing the triangle on a coach to have to play a certain way and the players didn't want to, or whether it's we're waiting for the next guy and we're setting up for whether it's 2010 and LeBron or 2 years ago and Kevin Durant. It's always been about setting it up for the next guy. This is for the first time in a long time where they're coaching this team right now. It's the first time they had synergy, which is why, to me, injuries are the only thing that will derail this from being a season. I'm not saying they're going to championship. I'm not even going to say they, are going to be a contender. What I'm saying is to make the playoffs. That would be an unbelievable thing after everything this franchise has been through.
Alan, let's go here. So I know that the Knicks didn't make any moves in the offseason, didn't take any big swings for free agents or making trades, right? They stayed status quo with their younger group core. With knowing that the history of Tibbs, right, a lot of star players potentially, other than Jimmy Butler, really didn't like to play for him and Derrick Rose because of the way he actually runs you into the ground, right? Karl Anthony Towns, guys like that back in Minnesota. Who is the right superstar to come to the New York Knicks, next year in free agency that you think fits into the culture for Tom Thibodeau and the Knicks?
I can't answer that. Number one, there aren't any real superstars that are going to be available in free agency anyway, to be honest with you. You're going to have to trade for somebody, but I think you have to understand. I think Tibbs is learning that he's got to be that. Like, you've got to get like-minded players, gym rats, guys that want, like Austin Rivers is a great example. You see the way he's talking about this team and the way he feels like that he loves this kind of environment. You've got to draft guys. You've got to sign guys that fit that mentality, and you just can't try too hard and bring in somebody that doesn't fit the mentality. It's just the way it is. Look at Miami. Miami's the same way, and they're almost trying to emulate Miami in that aspect where it's not for everyone. And that's how I think the mentality has to be. It can't be star chasing anymore because we've learned, Jay, stars do not want to just sign with this team unless they know they can win.
Alan,
Speaking of stars, what's going on with the Nets? I'm sorry, Key.
They don't play defense. I had a Hall of Famer I was talking to the other day who watches them regularly, and he said to me, that's street ball. Like, they just out-talent you. They really don't defend. Now, they made a lineup change, and, this is why you brought in Bruce Brown and players like that. You want to get some defense going, and they were much better against the Jazz, and so we'll see if they can keep that going. But you and I both know that they have enough talent to win in the East and probably get to the finals, and they should. So I'm not, I look at this like that first year. Remember Miami, LeBron, Wade, and Bosh, and how that first year, about 20 games in, they were still about hovering around 500, having some issues. They'll work this thing out. They got way too much talent.
Alan Hahn, co-host of Barton Hahn, weekdays from noon to 2 p.m. on ESPN Radio and ESPN Plus. Let's talk about the other team in town, the Nets. How is New York feeling about the Nets as a whole right now?
I don't feel like they still are that team that it's like you begrudgingly watch them for the most part. Their fan base is obviously not as big as the Knicks, but it's similar to, I think, when the Clippers were doing what they were doing. I wish New York could have what LA has, two great teams, because this city loves basketball so much that two big markets having two teams that are elite teams would be fantastic for the league, for the sport, and everything else. So I just think it's that same vibe. I think, you saw it when the Clippers were good.
But the Nets are actually better than the Knicks. And the Clippers are not better than the Lakers.
Well, they were a couple of years ago. The Clippers were a couple of years ago. Better. And how did the city embrace the Clippers even when they had Blake and CP and DeAndre?
They still was little brother.
Yeah, and the Lakers didn't make the playoffs for 6 years.
Still was little brother.
See what I mean? I think that's just because of the fan base sizes. But I also think you're watching them though because you have to. With Kevin's a guy, I can't not watch Kevin Durant play basketball. As much as it pains me that he's not wearing a Knick uniform,